I was talking to somebody about the overwhelming feeling, and they said not to be a machine gun. Think more like a sniper. Pick one or two things and work on those. That was a very good bit of advice. Yes, I think this is great advice. So we can feel really overwhelmed with all of the things that are happening, right? From the very beginning, the Trump regime has tried their shock and awe, the flood the zone campaign. They absolutely are trying to overwhelm us with this inundation, this deluge of just terrible, terrible things, so that we're unable to focus on any one area. We feel completely overwhelmed, paralyzed, and we don't take action. I like to use the starfish on a beach story to help explain this concept here. So it goes something like this. There's a terrible storm, and thousands of starfish, a million starfish, get washed up on a beach. The next morning, a young man is walking down the beach, and he's just completely overwhelmed. He sees a million starfish baking in the sun way above the tide line. And he's just completely overwhelmed. He's like, all of these starfish are going to die. And so he's walking along, looking at the scale and just feeling so small and insignificant that he can't fix anything. And he sees walking toward him a little old lady who is walking up the beach, grabbing one starfish, walking down the beach, and throwing it back into the ocean. And he watches her do this over and over. She walks up the beach, she grabs a starfish or two, she walks back down the beach to where the water is, throws them in the ocean. And he gets to where she is, and he says, what are you doing? You can't possibly save them all. We can't save them all. And she says, no, I know that, son, but I saved this one, and I saved this one, and now I'm going to save this one here. And that's typically where the story ends, and it's meant to communicate to us that the small acts of goodness and kindness that we engage in are worthwhile, that we can't fix all of the problems, but we actually can make a tremendous difference in the lives of individuals. But I like to take the story one step further. I like to think that she tells that young man, go back to the village and tell them all to come down and join me. And he does, and then everybody comes down to the beach, and everybody is engaged in the work of picking up one or two starfish at a time and walking them down the beach and returning them to the ocean. And the fact that that young man went back to the village and dozens of people heard his call. Let's pretend there's 100 people in the village. They heard his call and they all came running, and they all decided to engage in this work. They all believed that their small actions made a real difference. They were not obligated to try and save all of the starfish, but just to focus on what was within their control and save as many starfish as they could, and trust that everybody else from the village would do the same thing. And collectively, they all engaged in their small acts of kindness and justice and compassion. They could clear the beach. They could return all of the starfish to the ocean. That, for me, that is the story of resistance work. You don't have to do this all by yourself. You can't do it all by yourself. The regime wants you to believe that you are small, that the efforts that you make, that your contributions don't matter, that you should just go ahead and give up now. That they are all big and all powerful, that they are like a tidal wave, and that they are going to wash all of those starfish way up high on the beach, and they're all going to die, and that should make you despair. You should just give up. That is the propaganda that the regime wants you to believe, and it is an absolute lie. Your small contributions matter. You don't have to do everything. We just need you to do something. As somebody who believes very much in nonviolent resistance, but I also understand the power of symbolism, I think this sniper analogy is really apt. Pick something, focus on that, and get that job done, and then move on to the next one. And trust that everybody else is also covering the other bases. Trust that we are all finding the ways that we can plug in. You are not alone. We have friends everywhere. There are millions and millions and millions of us engaged in this work. The regime wants you to believe that you are alone. They want you to believe that you can't make a difference, that you are powerless, that you are friendless, that your efforts don't matter. Y'all, the reason that they're lying to you and telling you that your work doesn't matter is because it has all of the power to stop them. We have the collective power to stop them, not only to take care of each other, not only to hold the line, but to organize to stop them. Authoritarians rely heavily on a propaganda game. They rely heavily on demoralizing you and getting you to comply in advance, on getting you to surrender in advance, on getting you to surrender your own power to them. Because if they have to actively fight you, they won't win. Because if they have to actively try to pry your democracy from your hands, they won't win. They are counting on you freely handing it over, because otherwise they will lose. This is their only game plan, y'all. Their only game plan is to engage in a propaganda game meant to scare you into submission, meant to make you feel worthless, meant to make you feel like you can't do anything, so you might as well just give up now. Those are lies that they are feeding you in an attempt to get you to hand over your power and this country to them. Do not believe them. Find something to plug into. Whatever it is that you decide to do for the pro-democracy movement is good and worthy and will make a difference, and we need you to do it. You do not have to do everything. Please trust, please trust. There are millions and millions of other folks also engaged in picking starfish up off the beach and returning them to the ocean. You just focus on those starfish right in front of you. You stay the course and focus on those starfish right in front of you. This is why I say that hyperlocal resistance is where we have the most power and the most influence. There are so many needs right now in our communities all across this country. Every corner of this nation is being negatively impacted by the regime. There is no part of the United States that is not actively being harmed by Donald Trump and the Republicans. And so if we all just focus right outside our back door, we will find at least one or two ways that we can plug in, at least one or two ways that we can make an impactful difference. And we need to do that. We need to do that. And if all of us are engaged in that work, we will cover the bases. We will take care of each other. You do not have to stop the fascists all by yourself. Don't put that on your shoulders. You are not alone. You are doing this work with millions of other good people. Focus on the tasks in front of you. Find one or two ways to plug in and get to work.